Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Young. I'm just going to walk you through manufacturing sector for Canada for July 2025. Here's my agenda. This presentation will be very quick. I try to keep these videos to 3 to 5 minutes just because people like to see things very quickly. Here's a bit of my bio here. I won't spend a lot of time here. I'll just show the screen here, but I have a diverse background from finance to IT to working with customers to drive the best results. This gives you an idea of the PMI. PMI is basically a purchasing management index, and it basically gives you the health of what's going on with orders, overall production cycles, and it basically talks a bit about where we were in July, where we're basically at a 46.1 clip, and we actually grew about 5% month over month. That's significant considering the sectors themselves have struggled, especially steel sector. Oil production's been relatively flat. Forestry's been in doldrums for a little bit. So you're seeing a little bit of different sectors have benefited, but there's still struggles facing the manufacturing sector in Canada. This chart shows you the far left is Stats Canada puts together basically trends for manufacturing by urban area and then by sectors. And I tend to group them by major sectors because if I made it too big, it would be difficult to go through to. So I try to use a 80-20 rule and try to cover the main sectors. But if you look at the far left-hand side, and what I've done is I've done a year-over-year comparison. And if you see the number one growth is Windsor, and that's interesting because Windsor has struggled with automotive due to the tariffs and other investments, but there what looks like appears to be they had a strong year-over-year with automobile production as well as other aspects of the metal fabrication sector in Windsor. Number two is Halifax, which makes a lot of sense because Halifax is gearing up, is building, continually builds the next generation of frigates for the Canadian military, so we're seeing more and more growth and pick up there. What's interesting is the decliners, and if you look at Regina, for example. Regina is an interesting economy because a lot of it's insurance, finance, and government, but they do have a oil refinery there, and they do have other things related to the agricultural sector there. So the fact that we're seeing a decline there, that tells me there's something drastically going on with the agricultural sector in the Regina area. If we look at Saskatoon, we're seeing some growth there. Saskatoon is home to Cameco and some other areas. Potash is big around there, so we saw new potash mines coming to life. And potash exports, we've seen some increase and some stability in that marketplace. So that's interesting on that front. Winnipeg is a bit more diverse, but Winnipeg is struggling too because their key sectors like aerospace, and they also have a bus company there too as well, have struggled due to the tariffs impacts on their organization. I'll leave that there as well. Then I'm going to take you to the far right hand side where you're actually looking at the trends. And if you look at year over year, you're seeing food manufacturing basically has seen some struggles, and that's interesting because there has been some consolidation of food production facilities, closing of outdated ones. So we're seeing that happen. Forestry's been in the doldrums for a while now. The key is that we're seeing more and more investment, as I mentioned in the previous slide, in mass timber production. So it's something to bear in mind. And then you look at other sectors themselves, like you're looking at oil and stuff like that. We're seeing some improvement year over year. So the Canadian oil production itself has seen some improvements, but oil prices themselves have come down year over year as well. So as you can see, it's a pretty wide range of what's going on, but the sectors that still are being impacted greatly, like steel and transportation, continue to be impacted by those changes in policy. The other thing that will be interesting that happens over the next several months is the government's created a new agency to expedite foreign direct investment projects that are in the best natural interest as part of pivoting around how they get the GDP to grow, because GDP has been a challenge for 3 to 4 years now, and it has structural issues facing it. And manufacturing is a key part of that if we want to truly grow an inclusive and sustainable economy. Thank you.